Imagine yourself stepping quietly through the torch-lit corridors of Topkapi Palace, the ancient heart of the Ottoman Empire. Flickering flames cast long shadows on marble walls, and every footstep echoes like a whispered secret. The year is late 17th century, an empire both vast and fragile, stretched thin by internal strife and external threats. The air is thick with incense, silk tapestries, and an unspoken dread. You can almost hear the faint murmur of servants exchanging fearful whispers in dim corners, eyes darting nervously away from gilded doors that conceal the seat of ultimate power. Behind these walls, the Sultan's gaze no longer rests calmly. Suspicion has taken root in his mind like a poison, an endless, gnawing worry that those closest to him, even his own blood, might betray him. His sons, the princes born to secure his legacy, have become shadows of danger in his eyes. This is no ordinary royal drama. Here, the struggle for the throne is stained with cruelty so deep it blurs the line between family and foe. You might wonder, how did it come to this? Succession in the Ottoman Empire was a perilous game with few rules, governed more by ruthless custom than by clear law. Unlike many monarchies, the Ottoman throne did not follow strict primogeniture, where the eldest son inherits peacefully. Instead, history had carved a brutal path: fratricide, blinding, and imprisonment. For centuries, this dark tradition was an unspoken decree, a terrible necessity to prevent civil war and the empire's collapse. Brothers were rivals were threats to be eliminated. Blinding, in particular, became a favoured method. To take away sight was to remove the possibility of rule, without spilling royal blood openly. Such was the price of power here. Now picture the opulent grandeur of the palace, the soaring domes gilded in gold, intricate arabesques carved into marble, fragrant gardens that seem untouched by the poison lurking inside. The empire dazzled the world with its beauty and strength, yet inside these walls horror played out in silence. It is in this fragile balance between light and shadow that our story begins. The Sultan's throne is not just a seat of authority, it is a throne of fear. In these opening moments, you are invited to feel the weight of a civilization's tradition pressing down on a father's heart, to glimpse how the shimmering surface of empire can mask the darkest depths of human suffering. What drives a man to blind his own sons to secure his reign? How does the instinct for survival twist the bonds of blood into chains of cruelty? Stay with me as we journey into a world where love and terror are inseparable, where power demands sacrifice and the price is paid in sightless eyes and broken souls. Before we move forward, take a moment. What would you do if your legacy was threatened not by strangers, but by the very children you brought into the world? Would love protect them or destroy them? If you find this glimpse into imperial shadows compelling, make sure to like and subscribe. There's much more to uncover about this Sultan's chilling reign and the tragic fate of his sons. Your thoughts and questions matter. Share them below as we explore history's darkest corners together. Next, we will step into the Sultan's early life, a boy forged in a palace of secrets and betrayal, where survival meant learning to trust no one. The golden light of dawn barely touches the palace windows as you step deeper into the labyrinth of Topkapi. The air still holds the chill of night, but the echoes of past whispers linger, ghosts of vanished princes and broken promises. This is where our future Sultan first learned the cruel calculus of power. As a boy, he was not shielded by velvet or lullabies. Instead, he was raised amidst shadows, watching uncles and brothers disappear one by one, swallowed by mysterious illnesses whispered about only in fear and silence. Each disappearance was a silent warning etched into his young heart. Trust no one, not even blood. You can almost feel the cold dread that gripped him as he lay awake in his chamber, listening to footsteps outside his door, wondering if tonight would be his last. Survival was not guaranteed in these halls. Every smile could mask a dagger. One near-death experience marked him forever. A sudden fever took hold, and for days he hovered between life and death. When he recovered, something inside hardened, a resolve to outwit the deadly dance of palace intrigue. Imagine the boy now, eyes wide but calculating, learning early how to navigate the treacherous waters of harem politics. Mothers vying for favor, each hoping to see their son ascend the throne, whispered secrets like vipers. His own mother's loyalty was a fragile shield in this poisonous garden. Outside the women's quarters, the Janissaries, the Sultan's elite troops, played their own deadly game. Fierce, proud, and unpredictable, their allegiance could shift like desert sands. The young prince learned which generals smiled to his face but plotted behind his back. And then there were the viziers, powerful ministers who held sway over the empire's vast machinery. They were masters of manipulation, wielding words as weapons, bending loyalty to the highest bidder. The boy observed carefully, absorbing every lesson in deception and ambition. When the day of his coronation finally arrived, the palace burst into a spectacle of sound and colour. Trumpets blared, silk banners fluttered, and thousands cheered beneath the blazing sun. The throne room glittered with gold and jewels, every surface reflecting the dazzling might of an empire. But beneath the jubilation, the young sultan's heart was heavy with a secret knowledge. This throne was won not by love or destiny, but by blood, by betrayals unseen, by brothers lost and futures sacrificed. You sensed the weight settling on his shoulders, the heavy burden of an empire's survival balanced precariously on his choices. Around him, smiling courtiers raised their glasses in celebration, unaware of the ghosts that haunt the palace halls. This boy, now Sultan, stands at the crossroads of power and paranoia. Every ally might be a traitor, every son a future rival. His survival depends on mastering the very cruelty that forged him. Could you hold the crown if it demanded such a sacrifice? Would you become the monster the empire needs to endure? If you're drawn into this dark ascent, remember to like and subscribe. We'll soon unravel how his sons, born into this web of suspicion, became pawns in a game far older and more brutal than any throne. You find yourself in the heart of the palace's private gardens, where fragrant jasmine and rose bushes bloom under the watchful eyes of stone lions. Here, the Sultan's sons, 3 boys bound by blood but divided by fate, once played beneath the bright Anatolian sky, unaware of the shadows gathering around them. Each prince was a world unto himself. The eldest, Mustafa, was scholarly and quiet, with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ancient scrolls. He loved books, languages, and the soft rustle of parchment. His gentle hands trembled with excitement as he traced calligraphy, dreaming of a throne ruled by knowledge rather than fear. The middle son, Selim, was fierce and headstrong, a warrior at heart even in childhood. His laughter rang like battle drums as he trained with wooden swords, challenging guards and tutors alike. His spirit was untamed, blazing with ambition and courage. The youngest, Mehmed, was gentle and curious, with a smile that could melt the coldest courtier's heart. He loved animals, especially falcons, and found solace in their wild freedom, a freedom denied to him. But these boys did not grow up in a fairy tale. Their mothers, powerful women within the harem, wove rivalries as intricate as the palace's mosaic floors. Alliances formed like delicate spiderwebs, each seeking to secure their son's path to the throne. The air buzzed with whispered promises, veiled threats, and carefully crafted smiles. Imagine the quiet tension during court ceremonies, where the Sultan's glance lingered on one prince, then quickly shifted away, caught between paternal love and the poison of suspicion. In the early days, the Sultan's affection was tangible. Storytime under rose arches, gifts of carved wooden horses, lessons in horseback riding that filled the boys with laughter and hope. You can almost hear the soft murmur of a father's voice telling tales of empire and glory. Yet over time, the courtiers' whispers began to cloud these tender moments. Future usurpers, they murmured behind silken screens. Ambition breeds betrayal. The Sultan's eyes darkened with doubt. One night, the most vivid scene unfolds. The Sultan's hand gently cups Mustafa's cheek, warm, loving, but then hesitates, slowly pulling away as if afraid of what that touch might mean tomorrow. A moment frozen between love and fear, innocence and cruelty. You can feel the tension tighten like a noose around the prince's childhoods. They are children trapped in golden cages, protected by walls but imprisoned by the weight of their father's paranoia and the court's poisonous ambitions. How does innocence survive in a palace ruled by fear? Can a father's love endure when it is shadowed by the threat of betrayal? If this story pulls at you, don't forget to like and subscribe. The tragedy of these princes is just beginning, their fates entwined with a ruthless quest for survival. Next, we'll explore the growing poison of paranoia that will shatter the fragile bonds between father and sons. The palace no longer feels safe. The fragrant gardens seem quieter, the once bright corridors dimmer as a heavy fog of suspicion settles over every stone. You step into the Sultan's private chambers, where shadows flicker on ornate walls, and a troubled mind battles itself in the stillness of night. Outside, the empire groans under political unrest. Rebellions flare in distant provinces, armies shift allegiance, and whispered plots bubble to the surface like poison beneath calm waters. The Sultan's spies bring news of attempted coups, each more daring than the last. In this climate of chaos, the Sultan's obsession with loyalty becomes a dark flame consuming him. Trust, once freely given to sons and ministers, is now a currency too expensive to afford. This obsession is not born from madness alone, it is rooted deeply in tradition. The Ottoman Empire's history is stained with brothers blinding brothers, a grim legacy codified to prevent civil war. The law of succession, murky and cruel, allowed for such acts to maintain stability at a brutal cost. Imagine the Sultan poring over ancient scrolls by candlelight, reading accounts of princes whose eyes were gouged to ensure they could not rule, their lives spared but their futures stolen. His nightmares begin to haunt him. In the dead of night, he wanders the palace halls blind, feeling the cold marble walls close in around him. He sees his sons wearing his crown, smiling down on him from thrones he can no longer see. Their laughter echoes, a chilling reminder of the fragility of his reign. Is this the fate he must choose for his blood? Inside, a battle rages. The fierce love of a father clashes with the iron law of survival. To protect his empire, he must destroy his own legacy. You can almost hear his silent cries, "How can I love and destroy? How can I keep a throne stained with my son's suffering?" This is the cruel paradox of power, where the desire to hold on becomes a force of destruction. What choice would you make if your empire demanded the sacrifice of those you cherito? Shmost, could love survive such a test, or would it shatter beneath the weight of fear? If you are moved by this dark crossroad, remember to like and subscribe. The story deepens as we uncover the palace conspiracy that pushes the Sultan to act. Next, we enter the shadowy world of palace whispers and betrayal, the web that seals the prince's fate. The palace, once a sanctuary of silk and song, has become a labyrinth of shadows and secrets. Every corner conceals a watchful eye. Every whispered word carries the weight of betrayal. Step quietly now, for here, loyalty is a mask, and treason wears many faces. At the heart of this darkness, the Sultan's advisors and viziers spin a web of deceit, their ambitions cloaked in false loyalty. They feed the Sultan's growing paranoia with carefully crafted lies, reports of treachery stitched from fear and envy. Each false accusation is a weapon aimed not only at securing their power but at weakening rivals before they can strike. Picture the covert operations behind palace doors, spies lurking in the shadows of the prince's chambers, eyes sharp and ears pricked. They intercept letters meant for secret tutors or distant allies, twisting innocent words into sinister plots. A playful jest becomes a declaration of rebellion. A simple request for a book is painted as a call to arms. This misinformation seeps into the Sultan's ear like poison, clouding his judgment and deepening the chasm between father and sons. You can almost feel the prince's growing unease, the subtle shifts that betray the palace's changing mood. Servants who once smiled now avert their eyes, their steps faltering in the hallways. Doors lock silently at night, isolating the boys in gilded prisons. And most chilling of all, the coldness in the Sultan's gaze. A father's love turned to suspicion, a king's warmth replaced by the chill of fear. Imagine a quiet moment. One prince reaches out for a hand that once embraced him, only to find it withdrawn, the silence. He speaks louder than words, the unspoken verdict that the game of power has begun, and no son is safe. This is the turning point where innocence fractures and trust crumbles beneath the weight of whispered lies. How far will men go to protect their power, and what price does that demand from those caught in the shadows? If this unfolding tragedy grips you, please like and subscribe. Your support helps bring these lost histories to light. Share your thoughts below. What would you do in the prince's place? Next, the night of terror descends, the moment that shatters childhood and seals a cruel fate. Night drapes the palace in an impenetrable veil. The moon hides behind thick clouds as if the heavens themselves refuse to witness what is about to unfold. You stand just beyond the heavy oak doors of the prince's chambers, the silence so profound it presses against your skin like a shroud. Suddenly, the soft shuffle of boots breaks the stillness. Palace guards move in near-silent procession, their faces masked by duty and dread. In their hands they carry cruel instruments, silk cords soaked in oil and metal heated to a cruel red glow, tools of a ritual so barbaric yet cloaked in the empire's coldest necessity. Inside, the air thickens with fear. The princes, once vibrant boys, are now prisoners of an empire's darkest tradition. Their eyes, windows to futures once imagined, are about to be cruelly sealed forever. You can almost hear the muffled screams echoing through the marble halls, swallowed by the palace's vast emptiness, careful not to awaken the court's oblivious slumber. The silk cords tighten, a deceptively gentle name for a torment that sears flesh and shatters souls. The scent of scorched flesh mingles with cold sweat and the faint trace of jasmine from the gardens outside. It is the smell of innocence extinguished. Elsewhere in the palace, the Sultan paces in Hachish, his chamber, hands trembling with a storm of emotions, fear, regret, determination. His breaths come ragged, the weight of his decision crushing his spirit. Yet, he does not stop the order. Each step he takes echoes with the unbearable knowledge that the blood of his blood will soon be marked by darkness. Back in the chambers, the sounds fade to silence. The extinguishing of light, both physical and metaphorical, descends. Young futures are sealed behind sightless eyes, and the palace's golden halls grow colder, heavier. You might ask yourself, how does a man reconcile love with such cruelty? Can power demand sacrifice beyond humanity? The Sultan's choice is a wound that cuts through time, leaving scars not just on flesh, but on history itself. If this heart-wrenching moment moved you, don't forget to like and subscribe. Share your feelings below. How would you bear the burden of such a choice? Next, we will explore the haunted days that followed, the living tomb of the princes, and a palace suffused with silence. The palace's vibrant life dims to a muted whisper. Where once laughter and footsteps filled the halls, now silence reigns, a heavy, suffocating silence that wraps itself around gilded rooms, turning them into prisons. You enter the chambers of the blinded princes, now safe from physical harm but stripped of everything else, their futures, their dreams, their light. These rooms gleam with gold leaf and velvet, but no treasure can replace the sight they have lost. Imagine the transformation. Proud heirs, once destined to rule, reduced to ghosts wandering familiar corridors by memory and touch alone. Their hands glide over cold marble walls, tracing patterns in the dark. The echo of their footsteps is hesitant, unsure, a fragile dance in a palace that no longer welcomes their presence. They learn to rely on other senses, the soft rustle of silk, the subtle shift of air, the faintest heartbeat. Every sound becomes a map, every scent a guide through this labyrinth of shadows. Occasionally the Sultan visits, not with the warmth of a father but with a car, evil restraint born of grief and guilt. These meetings are brief, awkward, words stumble and falter like fractured glass, unable to bridge the gulf carved by fear and remorse. His eyes search theirs, perhaps seeking forgiveness or an impossible redemption. Yet silence often answers, heavier than any spoken sorrow. Beyond the princes, the palace women bear their own silent wounds. Mothers, nurses, and servants mourn in secret, love entwined with terror. Their grief is a quiet rebellion, carried out behind closed doors under the ever-watchful eyes of guards and courtiers. Many weep alone in the moonlit stillness, knowing that any show of emotion could mean death. Their heartbreak becomes another layer of the palace's suffocating atmosphere, a collective mourning that no historian's scroll can capture. You feel the weight of this living tomb, not built of stone but of shattered lives and stolen light. It is a prison gilded with gold but dark as night, where innocence is confined and hope grows thin. How does one live in a world stripped of sight? What remains when the future is extinguished before it can even begin? If this portrait of silent suffering touches you, please like and subscribe. The story continues to unfold, how the Sultan's reign spiraled into a kingdom of shadows and solitude. Next, we will see the Sultan's reign of fear, how power without peace breeds isolation and paranoia. The palace hums with an eerie quiet, but not the calm of peace. This is the heavy silence of suspicion, of power wielded behind drawn curtains and locked doors. Imagine the Sultan, once a boy forged in fire, now a man who wears his crown like a shackle, burdened by the ghosts of his past decisions. In the grand dining hall, he sits alone at an immense gilded table. No courtiers or sons share his meal. The clinking of a single spoon against porcelain echoes through the cavernous room. His eyes scan every corner, every face, even if only shadows meet his gaze. At night, the Sultan retreats to chambers sealed tight against the world. Guards stand vigil, their eyes sharp, their hands never far from their swords. He paces the halls obsessively, inspecting them again and again, searching for threats that might be invisible yet deadly. Outside the palace walls, whispers ripple through Istanbul's bustling streets. Among the people, opinions of the Sultan are divided. Some see him as a protector, a ruler who preserved the empire's fragile stability at any cost. They speak of order restored, enemies crushed, and a realm held together despite chaos. Others call him a butcher of innocence, a tyrant whose fear poisoned his love and destroyed his lineage. Mothers whisper his name in fear. Children learn to avoid palace tales lest they hear the cries of blinded princes. Even foreign ambassadors carry the tale beyond the empire's borders. In shadowed taverns of Vienna and the courts of Paris, diplomats exchange hushed accounts of cruelty beneath the crescent moon. Their reports stain the Sultan's legacy, painting him not as a glorious ruler, but as a man consumed by paranoia and haunted by the price of power. This reign of shadows offers no peace, only isolation. What does it mean to rule when fear has severed every bond? Can a throne built on suffering ever be truly stable? If this dark portrait of power resonates with you, please like and subscribe. Join the conversation below. How do you reckon with leaders who sacrifice humanity for control? Next, we will follow the Sultan's final days and the fading echoes of his shattered dynasty. The grandeur of the palace no longer masks the fragility beneath. The Sultan, once a fierce pillar of power, now drifts through his chambers like a ghost tethered to memories he cannot escape. His body weakens, each breath a battle against the inevitable. Haunted by visions of his sons as young boys, eyes be. Bright with innocence and hope, he sees their faces everywhere. In the flicker of candlelight, in the rustle of palace curtains, in the shadows that crawl along the marble floors, these ghosts do not speak, but their silent accusations pierce deeper than any blade. Outside, the empire churns with unrest. Political factions long suppressed now claw their way to the surface, eager to claim the throne. Ambitious generals and scheming viziers sense the Sultan's faltering grip and ready their moves. Yet the blinded princes, the living remnants of a broken legacy, remain locked away, forgotten by history and overshadowed by the empire's unyielding march forward. Death comes quietly, without fanfare or final reconciliation. The Sultan passes in his chambers, his sons never seeing his face again, their eyes forever denied the sight of a father's last moments. Their lives continue in a realm apart, ghosts wandering corridors not of choice but of confinement. Nameless, voiceless, their stories lost amid the din of history's grander tales. You can almost feel the weight of this erasure, a silence that swallows their suffering whole. The empire moves on, its pages turning over a chapter stained with sacrifice, cruelty, and unspoken regret. What becomes of those history forgets? How do we remember the shadows beneath the throne? If this story moves you, please like, subscribe, and share your reflections below. Together we can keep the forgotten voices alive. Next, we conclude with a haunting reflection on legacy, how power's darkest choices echo through time. Centuries have passed since those dark nights echoed through the marble corridors of Topkapi Palace, yet the ghosts remain, whispering through the silence like a mournful wind. Today, historians debate endlessly. Was the Sultan a monster, a tyrant who sacrificed his sons to feed a boundless hunger for power, or was he a tragic fig? Shaped and broken by the brutal logic of an empire that demanded blood to survive. The truth is tangled in the shadows of history. The cruel tradition of fratricide and blinding slowly faded as the Ottoman Empire moved into a new era. But the story of the Sultan who blinded his own sons lingers, a chilling reminder of how power, once corrupted by fear, corrodes everything it touches. It is a cautionary tale etched into stone and memory alike. Survival driven by paranoia can become a poison, destroying the very bloodline it seeks to protect. Picture the empty palace corridors bathed in cold moonlight. The air is still. A faint echo drifts, a child's laughter, soft and distant, swallowed by time. Those unseen spirits, once princes, once boys, remain part of the palace's soul, forever caught between light and shadow, love and cruelty. This story leaves us with a haunting question. When does the instinct to survive become the architect of destruction? And what costs do we pay when fear outweighs love? If this journey through history's darkest corners moved you, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Together, we keep these stories alive, not just as warnings, but as reflections on the human heart. Thank you for exploring this haunting legacy with me. May the past teach us not only what power is, but what it should never become.